Alright everyone, Supreme Kami over here. So we have a new build project you need to just kind of review over here and just kind of see if there's any parts that you want to kind of focus on. I know that in terms of getting a build project, just say any specific build project part can be expensive because you will need approximately 5 material per like specific banners and all that. So it's gonna take you about 2 separate weeks in order to obtain this, I guess. So it's gonna cost you at least 1,000 or 15,000 hardships to at least get one part. So that's why let us actually go over and see if there are any parts in particular that you should focus on or should get in. Yeah, but in terms of the overall, getting, let's say you want to get all 9 parts, you want to alter all of them, that is gonna cost you roughly about 148,500 hardships. So you guys yeah, so that's why if you do want to get the full set, it's definitely quite impossible. Even for me, I don't think I'm gonna get the full set. It's pretty much ridiculous. And I feel like with any recently released build project unit, I think they have definitely toned it down in terms of how good they can be. They're definitely not packing those 40% trade, which is actually good. So there's not going to be any particular parts that you want to actually chase for. So that is definitely going to be good. So in terms of how this guy is looking at, so the word tag is I want to say it's a little bit wonky because first and foremost, this is a supposedly like a shooting based unit, but occasionally they do want to play around and throw in Xian tag as well. So Xian tag is exclusively for melee. So in a shooting based build, you wouldn't want to use that tag. So I feel like those are definitely going to be a part. If you are someone that truly wants to, let's say, run Xian, maybe you want to pick up a few parts here and there, because like we don't really have too many good Xian type tag or Xian parts in this game. So but alright, starting off the head, so we have a pretty good overall stat right here. So I think just compare anything from 7 star nowadays, it's pretty hard to just kind of do. But fortunately, we do have right now, as the recording of this, we currently do have 5 7 star shooting, you can say shooting base unit. So that's why I can roughly do like a quick comparison to see where we're looking at. So in terms of this head is actually going to be losing out to the second V, as well as the newest, you can say the New Year's banner, the Gundam Zero. So to me personally, I feel like that if that is the case, this is definitely not going to be the head part to be getting. Although you are getting that premium combo right here, Commander and Ace exclusive, but the cost of getting the head is just too much. I wouldn't want to go out of my way just to get this head right here, while this right here is not really that good. So this one right here is going to be giving you a 35 to 35% split right there. 1 to EX skill power boosting, as well as 1 to shooting. This one right here having a armor restriction. I wouldn't say it's the worst case scenario for it by any means. Like at least it's 70%, so you can definitely take a few hits and it wouldn't affect you like that. So that's a good factor. But if we do quickly take a look at the second V, I think second V is definitely, to this day, right currently, is one of the best head part for shooting base, specifically 40% trait, just overall higher stats. So this is definitely the one to just kind of focus on. But I think people can argue that having a rifle restriction can be a problem, but me personally, I don't see that as too much of a hindrance. They do have to throw in some sort of like a condition to fulfill, but this is not the worst case scenario, so I can definitely live up with that. But so yeah, I feel like getting the Sinanju sign, or the Sinanju head, excuse me, is definitely not good. So that one is definitely going to be a hot skip right now. Moving on to the torso, so just speaking of the EX skill, they're literally exactly the same thing as you can find on the original version. So I believe this one right here is, the Halt unit. So this one is gonna summon the new Zhang right there. So I don't think this one is packing anything extraordinary if I were to compare it to the original one, just for a quick reference. I don't think you're increasing by that much actually. So let me see. Unicorn. Okay, so this one is the original version, and yeah, so I think the only differences that you can see from this one compared to the newest one, I think, is the power differences, I recall. Let me see. Yeah, so this one is getting a B plus, while this one, and also getting 10% more higher, which is supposedly it's a little bit better. But If that is the case, I don't think this is a good pick as well, you know, just because they're increasing the EX skill power as well as the stat increases. I don't think it's anything too particular. This is where you're gonna see Xian right there. So if you are someone that is, you know, hunting for some Xian part, for a melee specifically, I don't think you can really use this torso that effectively either, because the stat on the melee distribution is actually quite low. So it's you know, kind of like why they're doing this right here. Kind of unfortunate. It's either they want to go strictly with, you know, let's say strictly shooting base and not throwing any random melee attack. That would be good. But being a Sinanju right here, they do have to kind of given they have to put in Xian, I guess. But in terms of the shooting base, currently this is still pretty good, you know, second in place next to just right after the Wing Zero. But this one does come with EX skills, so which that means if you are gonna do some subslot, you can't really find that much of a good option. I just wanna, I would say, I think the best torso to run currently is definitely going to be the Hakashiki. This is because the Hakashiki does pump out that 40% trade, so that one is definitely the better case, and definitely has a similar war tag as well. I believe that one also have commander, so it's a sure win to use the Hakashiki, right? So this one is probably going to be another hot skip on the list. So yeah, so far I don't think anything is outstanding to me. Just for a quick, you know, comparison. So this one, you do have another Xian. So this, I would say this arm you can definitely use it on the melee, because the overall stat right there is actually not that bad. But melee defense definitely a little bit lower than expected, obviously. But for shooting base specifically, right now it's gonna be leading by just a few hundred, or even not even by a few hundred. So if I'm gonna do all the conversion, the 40% conversion gear, this one is gonna be slightly over the Raphael arm, which is, I think Raphael arm right now is the best shooting arm to be using. So quite unfortunate, but you know, this is definitely not gonna be something you will run effectively because of, you know, Xian right there. So probably not a top picker either. So in terms of the beam Tonfa over here, so this one does pump out to S power though. So they're not really doing anything special, nothing. So probably another hot skip. Like why? why do they even bother, man? Like come on now. Alright, moving on to the leg. So I think the leg is definitely something I think a lot of people can take advantage of. So first and foremost, this is going to be your EX skill cooldown reduction type part right here. So where you do have a rifle category, so you gain that. You also do get another power boosting by 35%. So this one is actually a pretty good one to get. So if you are summoning and potentially you do summon enough, for say in terms of the leg, you're gonna need 5 material B as well as 5 material D. So if the leg is something you want to get, those are definitely going to be some of the weeks where you want to summon on and prioritize on them. And do keep that in mind, you want to summon one extra time just so you can get the specific L badges, because you're not gonna get it unless you trade off any of your remaining material A to D. So you just have to pick which one you have extra, and you can convert it to 1 L badges for this Sinanju up here. So this one is probably one that I would say that looks pretty good from the overall kit. So this is definitely, if you guys are gonna be summoning, because next week is going to be another Sokai week. So yeah, you know, I think next week is gonna be another Sokai week. So quite sad, because this week, as we were talking about, it's supposed to be a standard week. But you know, with the new year going on, so that's why they want to throw in like a special banner. So next week is gonna be another. Next week is gonna mark the 6th week of getting limited parts. Just for anyone just kind of wondering right there. So I think next week people might actually summon, depending on what kind of unit we're looking at, or if you guys even have any hardships. But maybe this part I would say is kind of go for it. Alright, so now to the back part. So the back part is not going to be anything too surprised either. Stat is definitely going to be pretty good, you know, top tier at the current state. Good, you know, war tag obviously. But the trait on this one is actually not even that good. So you're going to increase your job gauge by 20%. I think that's a pretty underwhelming effect right there. So just kind of like, just outright bad. Second trait, EXQ boosting, definitely a solid option, but the first part trait definitely ruins it. Because it is a rare occasion we do have, let's say, a back part EXQ, or excuse me, a back part trait. So I thought this was going to be something that is going to be worth summoning for, but I guess this is not. So the torso or the backpack is definitely something to skip again. So alright, moving on to some of the melee weapons and see how they are. So this one's going to be your beam axe over here. So in terms of beam axe over here, I feel like any axe categories, you know, specifically don't really have that good subslot option. I do know that right now currently we do have a big scale depth scythe that does have a big scale axe, so that may be a good option. But in terms of what the effects is looking at over here, I think this one is definitely, I don't think this is anything too special either. So this one is going to be debuff effects up by 30%. So this is the opposite of buff EXQ effects over here. So if any of you guys are actually debuffing your enemy, like there's specific you know, EXQ that actually lower your enemy's defense, attacks and all that. So this right there works in relation to how the buff EXQ affects, but this one is just opposite. While this one does want you to use it on auto, so that may not be a best case scenario for some of you guys, I guess. This one is gonna also want you to be using beam specific attackers, so any of your beam EXQ, you can say bye to them. So yeah, quite sad, I gotta say. So this one may not be a good part to pick up, but if you guys don't really care about the condition on the beam specifically, or you know, you are someone that wants to be debuffing an enemy, or just in general, this is definitely going to be a good option to be looking at. So but in terms of, let's say you want to get this one, the material that you'll need is going to be the same actually. You'll need a material B and a material E, material B and material D are 5 each, so 10 in total. So yeah, but me personally, I will not really exchange with this beam axe over here. So moving on to the beam Naginata over here, so let's see what we have. The overall stat is definitely going to be pretty much the same, but this one is looking like a promising one to get, because before 60 seconds elapse, all enemy cooldown up by 23%. So this part right here is definitely something that we are familiar with recently with the introduction of the free-to-play Barbatoros over here. So this one can be a good chasing part. So this one is going to cost you 5 material A. So starting this week, you need to get some material as well as 5 material C. So this one is definitely looking like one of the chaser part, because I don't think we, wait a minute, I think we do already have a melee weapon with the exact same thing, if I recall. The soul, what's it? One of them has Eclipse actually, right? I think Eclipse has that already. Yeah. So Eclipse does have it already on a non-timer base over here. So if that is the case, I think the beam Naginata is gonna be a hot skill for sure. So with that being the case, I can just kind of say that this one is gonna be a hot skip again. So unfortunate, you know, like all these part over here, I will not say they're top tier, you know, like I had mentioned prior to even kind of reviewing all of them over here. They're not really packing anything too special. They're not increasing the stat by like a drastic margin. Even the EXQ or even the portrait are not really too impressive overall. So I have to skip right there. Alright, moving on to the beam rifle over here with the rocket launcher attached. So this one, okay. So this one is going to be facing the same problem again on a specifically on a shooting based unit. Packing EXQ on here is not the best way to go around. So this they definitely dropped the ball on this one. So probably going to be another hot skip. And if any of you guys are chasing with this part specifically, I suggest no, because your subslot option is extremely limited. Even if you do find a good big skill subslot, the chances are that good, like the portrait you're rocking with, is not going to be anything too good of a use. So this one, in terms of being rifle, is definitely going to be a hot skip again. Alright, so last but not least, we do have a shield over here. So in terms of shield, this overall stat does look pretty impressive, I must admit. But you know, if you're looking at it at the perspective of only 6-star, then you may not be surprised a bit, I guess, you know. But in terms of the portrait, is actually not even that good. So going to be another hot skip again, because this one is specifically on what enemy shooting power reduced by 30%, as well as when you are using like a ranged weapon. then it's only when you're using this, let's say you are using this one as your ranged weapon, then only this one get the EX boosting, while your other EX are not gonna get the benefits. So quite unfortunate. So I think overall they're like literally, after talking for like a few minutes with you guys, there's literally not a good part to get, you know. That's quite sad. Like this one being a build project, you would expect maybe a good few parts you want to just kind of chase, but no. So that is quite sad. So that is definitely going to be good news for anyone that is like trying to get the build project Sinanju. It's just not appealing, just plainly not appealing, because of what it's actually trying to be doing has already been satisfied with other parts already. So with that being said, that is just going to be a quick review for the Sinanju build project version of it. So with that being said, I will catch you guys all on the next one.